AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt. Our coverage here from Radio Row all week long is presented by Rev Fiber, Relief Windows, Parish Construction and Roofing, and FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake. Sincere thanks to our great partners who've made all of our coverage this week possible. It was a day dominated by Pete Golding, Trinidad Chambliss, Kewan Lacey, Will Eccles. The Ole Miss Rebels were the team that most were. Look, they brought new head coach Pete Golding, which is a fascinating storyline. All the Kiffin stuff, and Chambliss brought the star power. Chambliss and Lacey brought the star power. So yes, they have been the headliner so far. Interesting that Alabama came through and they were a supporting act, and maybe weren't even the second most interesting team. That could have gone to A&M today, who was a playoff team a season ago, and Marcel Reed was here. Bama did not bring one of its quarterbacks. They did, however, bring Ryan Coleman Williams. Yes, the guy who everybody joked 2 years ago that he was 17 years old. We heard over and over and over and over again. Well, he's now a 19-year-old junior, and he's Ryan Coleman Williams. He's hyphenated his last name now. And the big thing is him trying to break out of that sophomore slump. The dynamic freshman year, he had a downtick a season ago, even with Ty Simpson there throwing him the football. But looking this year with a new quarterback to bounce back and talk about what he's out to prove this season.
Honestly, just going into this year, my main focus is, just trying to be a consistent guy day in and day out. And with the work that I put in, obviously the results will show for themselves. So really just being the best version of myself day in and day out for my squad and for myself.
He is the kind of guy that could be a new quarterback's best friend, whether it's Austin Mack or Keelan Russell, whoever ends up winning that job. When you have a guy like Ryan Coleman Williams, you have a dynamic number one who can tilt the field if he lives up to that. That's a giant help. Now, there's no Jeremy Bernard, right? He's off to the NFL, and so Ryan Coleman Williams is going to shoulder a brunt of that, at least as far as the known commodities. But after the incredible, but just to sort of illustrate how perception goes sometimes, the questions were phrased about the sophomore slump. Well, his freshman year and sophomore year were almost identical. He did have a little bit of a step back in yardage, but as a freshman, 48 catches. As a sophomore, 49 catches. Now, he did go from 865 yards down to 689, so about 150 fewer receiving yards, and the touchdowns dropped from 8 to 4, so that is fair to note a little bit of a drop down there. But as far as receptions and the similar number of targets, he just didn't have as many explosives. As a freshman, averaged 18 yards a catch. Last year, averaged 14 yards a catch. Was that to do with Ryan Grubb coming in as the offensive coordinator or changing play call? Whatever the case may be, ultimately, the bottom line is Ryan Coleman Williams was still a productive player, but everyone assumed he would go from dynamic freshman season to kaboom as a sophomore, and it just didn't happen. So can he maybe turn that trick this year? Keeping it in the state of Alabama, the Auburn Tigers were here a day ago, and of course Alex Golesh, his first season, and that transition should be made a little easier by Byron Brown, who's got so many skins on the wall, 3,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher a season ago. And I had a chance to visit briefly with my buddy Darrell Dapprich, who helps Zach Blackerby over at Locked On Auburn, one of the contributors there. We spent a few minutes talking about Alex Golesh's first team there on the Plains. Joined by Darrell Dapprich, Locked On Auburn here as we continue from SEC Football Media Days. Thoughts on Alex Golesh's first media days?
I think he did really good being intentional. He's very, very thought-provoking with his answers. Nothing catches him by surprise. But I've gotten to the point with the way Auburn has played the last 5 or 6 years that you don't win games at the podium. You don't win them in the press conferences. Now, I do think there are certain red flags that can appear at these events. Okay. The way coaches handle things that I think is an indicator of maybe you're going to struggle. Are you going to be able to capture the room? Is your team going to follow you? Does your fan base believe that you can turn things around? Do players play for you? I think how he tries to build culture and environment matters. I don't think it pays off yet until you have proof of concept. But I do believe that red flags can appear in these things where you can say, this coach may have some problems. It may not be a good fit.
So none of those, though, this week. What we did see that I think everybody agrees on is Byron Brown is huge. Mm-hmm. Like, we can look at 3,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, but you see him in a suit and you're like, put that dude in cleats and pads, and you get why he's so imposing. What type of expectation is there for, like, 'cause I have a very high expectation for Auburn's offense this year because quarterback system are in place. That should ease the transition. What about on the home front? What's the thought there with the offense?
I think it's ahead of where it's been the last 2 transfer quarterbacks for 2 reasons. Number one, Peyton Thorne and Jackson Arnold did not have a lot of guys follow them. They didn't. And I also think Byron Brown is just more talented than those guys. I just think he's that dude, physically, leadership-wise. But when you go into a new school and you bring a lot of guys that know the terminology, know the system, and that you've played with and you've thrown to, I think you're ahead of the game a little bit. Thorne and Jackson Arnold did not have that. I think Arnold was fragile. I think he played scared. I think Thorne, there was a lot of confusion on offense, and a lot of that has to do with Hugh Freeze. But I think there's a continuity there with Golesh, Brown. Remember, Freeze never brought a quarterback with him. Harsin didn't bring a quarterback with him. I think that's a telltale sign when you leave a school and no one follows you.
Yeah.
What is that saying? And I think this helps that he's got that continuity.
And look, he's got the skins on the wall, whereas Thorne and Arnold was a 5-star, but he struggled at Oklahoma, and then they thought it would work out with Hugh Freeze, and clearly it didn't. But Brown's not going to be able to do it himself. What else is that? We know Cam Coleman's gone, so who's he going to throw to? Who else is there offensively?
I think that receiving core last year was very, very talented, but very top-heavy. The pace that he wants to go to, he mentioned to us at a private event, he needs 6 or 7 wide receivers. He may not have the All-American. I think Keshawn Singleton's very good. I think Nimrod's very good. Yeah. I think he's got 2 or 3 very good receivers, but I think he can go 6 deep that he's comfortable with throwing the ball to. And in this offensive system and how fast they want to go, that's better than having just 2 or 3 dudes. And if one gets nicked up, you're screwed. And that's what happened with Cam Coleman last year. So this system is conducive to playing a lot of receivers, and I like his depth.
It's so interesting because our audience knows I've played a clip of Lane Kiffin this offseason saying effectively the same thing. Like, they don't want to be top heavy and spend their cap on one. It's one of the reasons they didn't go after Cam Coleman, but they signed 9 receivers because he says he wants 4 to 6 guys that will emerge. So interesting, maybe Kiffin and Golesh, little similarities there with the pace and the tempo offensively. Flip it over defensively. What's Auburn going to be?
I asked the question in the big room yesterday. Is it concerning to DJ Durkin with the pace you want to go with this offense? Because other than West Virginia, his offenses are the fastest in America. And he had a really good point. He said Durkin likes it because he sees it in practice and he knows there's some high-tempo offenses he's going to face. Yep. So I like Auburn's defense, and I like the depth of their defense, and they're going to need that because they're going to be on the field. I think Auburn's defense gives up more points and more yards than they did last year, but I think they're going to be more talented. And if they can get more turnovers, who cares how quick you're on the field? Get the offense back on the field. Get it turned over. They haven't been very good the last couple of years, as good as their defense have been, and they've struggled holding leads late, but I think that's a direct result of the offense being so anemic. I think this combination could lead to Auburn winning some games in the 30s that they didn't win, that they never would have won last year.
Play a complimentary brand of football.
Yes, exactly.
A couple more minutes here with Darrell Dapprich locked on Auburn. Every season has its defining stretch on the schedule. When you look at Auburn, where is that?
October. October is going to be brutal, and it starts with going to Knoxville. I think that's a winnable game, and I think that's really the only game in Auburn in October that I would consider a toss-up. I think Ole Miss, LSU, and Georgia, it's a gauntlet. Even though you get LSU at home, you go on the road to Oxford, you go on the road to Athens. This team, to me, has the potential to start out 4-0 or 5-0 and then struggle. Then what happens? How do you respond to adversity in October when you start to lose back-to-back games? Do you come back in November and win a couple and right the ship? It reminds me a lot of Chiswick's first team in 2009 that started 5-0 and then fell off the face of the earth and struggled to get to 8-5. I would consider 8-5 a good year for Auburn this year. I really would. That's a +3 over last year. Win the stinking bowl game for a change. I mean, people are tired of getting beat in these bowl games. Win the bowl game. 8-5 looks so much different, Matt, than 7-6, even psychologically. Yeah. Then you take that into the offseason, and you have a chance to build on that.
Auburn and LSU back on the schedule is music to my ears. It is my always heard me say this. It's my favorite LSU rivalry. Are Auburn fans excited to see LSU back on coming to Jordan-Hare?
Absolutely. For years and years and years, especially because Auburn and LSU were in that old Western Division, it was Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. Those were the three absolute rivals that they looked at, and so I think that to get them back on the schedule is a big thing.
It'll be LSU visiting Jordan-Hare Stadium in late October. Looking forward to it. Get it all there at Locked on Auburn. Thanks, man.
No problem, man.
Darrell Dapprich, Locked on Auburn. We're brought to you by Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service. I tell you all the time how you can save. Right now, buy 3, get 1 free on shocks and struts over at Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service. That offer ends, by the way, on August 31st. So you got a little bit of time. You want all the deets, you can get them. Also, how about this? I tell you every day, they're never going to be beaten on price. Right now, they got a deal up to $310 off Bridgestone tires. You want all the deets about how they combine the in-house offer, the manufacturer's offer to get you $310 off of Bridgestone tires. You can do it at their Facebook page, social media, or at ShawBillsTire.com. ShawBillsTire.com. I tell you every day, name brand tires at wholesale prices, and they keep you coming back because they treat you like family. So get on by and see our friends today at Shawbill's Tire and Auto Service. Shawbills, we keep you rolling. All right, it's After Further Review. Bebopping along here in hour number 3. We talked about Auburn. Let's talk about the Tide out of obligation. Our buddy Ryan Fowler from Tide 92.9 in Tuscaloosa will jump aboard with us, and you may want to pull up YouTube because he brought an Alabama helmet over here, and I might have not been so kind about that. But we'll get to that here as we continue. Stay with us here on Hump Day edition of AFR from SEC Football Media Days.
After Further Review.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. If you need to hire, you need Glow Resources. That's what they do. They help businesses meet their maximum potential and productivity by finding the right people to put them in the right seats on the bus to make your business as efficient as it can possibly be. A lot of times the answer isn't hiring more people. The answer is hiring the right person in the right job to make your business or company more efficient. Glow Resources helps you do that. In a given day, their team will interview roughly 50 people in a day. So when you think about over 365 days, you're talking about roughly 15,000 interviews that they conduct over the course of the year. Why is Glow Resources so good at identifying the right people for the right job? Because they know the questions to ask. They know what to ask to make sure you find the people that are going to be the most effective, most efficient in that job. It's Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parrish Construction and Roofing.
Alabama taking their turn here at SEC Football Media Days. Ryan Fowler does radio in the afternoons in Tuscaloosa. It's good enough to join us. How are you?
Good. And right across the hallway, we've hung out.
Our audience, who all week, has had the fortune of looking at you, like straight through me and whoever's on with all.
Yeah. Well, I'm not made for radio. I mean, I'm not a good-looking guy like you.
So you brought a helmet.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the LSU fans, Brian Diddy West down there in Baton Rouge. I have a few Alabama fans down there, and the 18 states for 18 national titles. 18 national titles.
That you claim.
Well, we should claim one.
Why not? Auburn claims a bunch of fake. I'll claim fake ones. It's a big deal.
No, we've won the majority of ours. We is. I mean, I grew up in the state. It's. I never played in it, but
so they pronouns matter.
It does. Yeah, pronouns do matter, but
they.
So if LSU wins, it's them.
Yeah, play. I'll cover the team.
But you grew up in the state. You grew up as a Bengal Tiger.
Went to school there. Loved the school. Wanted to win. It's great. I didn't play. Hey, I can make an objectivity, unlike people who sit on a radio interview and bring a helmet.
Well, I just wanted to. I figured it would be a good prop for the Alabama interview.
It's really good to remind you of the past because the present is something you want to be distracted from. Certainly, back-to-back 4-loss seasons. So, more than 4 losses this year?
No, I don't think so. No,
I'm stunned by that. Stunned by that answer.
Well, I mean, think about Vegas. Vegas is you know, in the regular season, they've got them an 8.5. So Vegas thinks 8.5.
How does that feel?
Which feel
all seriousness,
but the highest two teams are Texas and Georgia. They're 9.5. It's the impact of the 9 games conference schedule.
It's the impact of not having Nick Saban.
That's part of it.
That's it. Because if Nick Saban was there,
it'd be 9.5.
It'd be 10.5, maybe 11.5.
But nobody's there in the SEC
because Nick Saban's not here anymore.
He was the greatest coach of all time.
He is the greatest coach of all time.
He was. He is. He is. I mean, look at the people mad at me.
Why?
He did it in an era that is more difficult to do it. And he was able to adjust so many rules. I would have loved to see him adjust to the current rules, though. Because the one area that many people here may not understand, Alabama's not loaded with money. And I wonder if that's part of the reason that said, I got to, because he can no longer stockpile 5-star talent. You know, a 5-star hurt? No problem. I got 3 more behind him.
I think you would have figured it out because the reality is if he's not doing that, then nobody's doing it, and he would still maximize who he had on the roster. That's what made him the greatest. He was able to adjust and adapt in the most transformative era from BCS to 14 playoff, the hard cap at 25. I mean, all the different things, then NIL, all the different things. He continued to adjust no matter what.
Struggling at the back end, okay? And I'm talking about hiring coaches. He really struggled to hire coaches. He was the offensive line. Well, I mean,
hey, he struggled again. What was Saban's last game he ever coached?
It was against the Michigan Wolverines. I was in the Rose Bowl.
In the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
College football playoff game. And it went overtime, didn't it?
It did.
It did. And there was a snap to Jalen.
But that snap had been issued the entire season.
Got it. So
couldn't get it fixed.
Snap, Monroe scores, Bama goes to the national championship game. They'd probably beat
Kalen
DeBoer and Washington. Right? You agree on that? Sure. We're not having a conversation about Nick Saban. And in the national semifinal in overtime his last game.
To the early part, in the middle part of the dynasty, we had begun to see it blood. Like he had Doug Marrone, Bill O'Brien as 2 guys recruiting. I mean, you know a lot about Doug Marrone.
Yeah, longtime same coach.
He really stunk it up from a development standpoint on the offensive line. It was something that took years to kind of recover a little bit.
Stinks. And somehow
Kevin Steele.
Somehow with that offensive line coach.
Kevin Steele retired prior to Nick Saban. Like 3 days prior, Kevin Steele got up. I watched Kevin Steele at the Rose Bowl. Matt, have you ever been at a game and you're doing something physically and you're pulling for them to cross the field? As a media member, you're going, do I need to help? I promise you, Kevin Steele was staggering across roles. And I thought about being the gentleman, but also of trying to figure out, okay, it's like helping an older. He was really physically, he was a mess. And you got to remember, prior to him, you know, when Golding had left, they had to quickly, he was asked about, well, what was it like to get the phone call from Nick Saban? He goes, oh, I'm shocked. But physically, he could not run another. I mean, he barely got through that season. Saban had done so well, everybody was hiring his assistant coaches to be head coaches, and those head coaches were hiring from the Saban tree. Saban tree had been picked apart. So it was a byproduct of his success. The assistant coach he just couldn't find.
And we're still right there in overtime in the national semifinal in the final game he coached. Ryan Fowler is with us. So they hired Kalen DeBoer. This thing is obviously just deteriorated. 4 losses in back-to-back seasons. I think that's an objective truth. The program is not today what it was the day Nick Saban left. It's not to say it's bad. I don't think Alabama will ever be bad. But would you agree? It's not. The program is not where it was when in 8.5.
But college football has changed.
All right. But you would, just as a jumping off point, we can agree there, right? Like Alabama is not the day where it was the day Nick Saban retired.
Sure.
Okay. When you look at this roster season expectation with Kalen DeBoer, where do you see the expectation compared to the day, realistically, that from the day he was hired?
I think looking at college football, the way that the salaries have grown, I think this is a misconception we were talking about just a couple of seconds ago. Alabama has money, but I don't know if they have the money that some of these other programs. Right now, LSU is spending a ton. I'm not sure they can even compete with what you guys are spending, and I wonder if it's sustainable in Baton Rouge. Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Miami, Oregon, Ohio State. Alabama's probably in that next tier. Probably there with Georgia. Georgia's not a heavy spender right now. I don't think they can. You know, if you look back at some of the rumblings that they prior to playing Alabama, there were some rumblings that they couldn't even write the checks, that the checks were going to bounce. And so the institution had to give them money to buy out the athletic department because they'd already promised all these deals.
I think that's pretty common across college football.
I think it is too.
You have a lot of bailouts, being from the university or from a booster group.
But the expectations, here's the problem with Kalen DeBoer. It's not the wins, because you remember he's 2-1 against Kirby Smart in 3 games. He's beat once in Athens, once in Tuscaloosa, lost the SEC title game this past year. It's the bad losses that get Alabama in trouble. Mm-hmm. It's losing to a Florida State team that you had no business losing to. It's losing to Vanderbilt on the road. Had no business losing to Vanderbilt on the road, regardless of Diego Pavia. You lose to Oklahoma at home last year. You have the interceptions. It's the bad losses that have been bad, but there's been some good wins. Obviously, the Indiana is a sour taste that Alabama fans will have to live with for 240 days. We're 45 days away, and still we'll talk about it. I mean, it hurts.
Who's going to play quarterback?
So I
think he wins the job.
I think he's the highest ceiling. I don't give up on Austin Mack. You know, your camp in your state, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Manning passing academy, reached out to Artie Manning. I said, which Alabama game is going? He said, to be honest with you, I'm not going to get in front of a quarterback competition. First time they had not invited an Alabama back several years, like 2017, 2016.
Okay.
He invited Tua, but Tua couldn't make it for academic reasons for something. He was completing core classwork.
Okay.
That's the last time Alabama did not make it. Other than then, you have back even early 2000s. He always invites the Alabama because it's a camp, right? They pull in school quarterbacks from the state of Alabama. He said it was disappointing that he didn't have an Alabama guy. And that told me that it was a true competition. And I think Kalen DeBoer will let these guys fight it out for 2 weeks. But I think at the end of the day, I think Kalen and Russell will win the job.
What's the most, Ryan Fowler for 4 minutes, what's the stretch in the schedule for Alabama that's going to define the season?
It's the 4 in the middle that includes you guys. So to me, this is the way I look at the schedule. And you go along with me. You ready?
Okay.
You say win or loss.
Okay.
East Carolina, win. Kentucky on the road.
Should be a win.
Come back home, you play Florida State.
Should be a win at home, yeah.
Then you play South Carolina.
Yes.
In Tuscaloosa, yeah.
Well, that's going to be – I don't know what to make of Carolina, but that's a game where Carolina had Bama beat.
But you'll be a double-digit favorite.
You think a double-digit favorite?
8, 9, 10? I mean, I would think.
You're pumping up Bama way too much, man. Okay. But favorite at home, favorite, yes.
So they'll win.
Okay, so 4
on the road.
Should be 5.
Okay, you're 5-0.
Okay.
Then Georgia at home. That's a toss-up game. Georgia's just scared of Alabama. Alabama's scared of Georgia.
And like you said, Kalen's had a good success against Kirby. I mean, the SC championship game, you're hard, it's hard to ignore.
It was
Okay.
bad.
Let's just say that's an L. It's in Alex Golesh. Let's say that's.
Well, let's discuss the 4 in the middle.
Okay.
So you got Georgia at home, Tennessee on the road.
Yeah.
Don't know what to expect about Tennessee.
Same.
Texas A&M at home.
Okay.
Then you get the bye week, and then you go LSU.
Yeah.
So 4 in the middle. I think probably split that 4.
Okay.
Would you agree there?
I think if you split the 4, that's provided you start 5-0, like you said, you split those 4. Yeah, I mean you're in good shape.
Yeah, and so now you got 7-2, and the last 3 games are very winnable.
Who are the last 3?
You play Vanderbilt on the road.
Okay.
The last time I went up there, they got
40-35. I bought the T-shirt.
Yeah, right. So bad memory. But and then we play Chattanooga free, and then all
In Auburn.
Yeah. So
Where's the goal?
it's in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. 4 in the middle, man. So you think take care of business, go 2 in the middle, you're kind of playoff.
Yeah.
It-
I remember if you're any advice, 5-star lock of the week, Fowler's lock of the week. Take Bama and the over.
over 8.5. So
I mean, you'll
What
never
is it?
get Alabama to half.
it's true. So there's
I mean, we come to Bryant Eddie West down in Rouge.
it is in
We've more
insane.
teams down there than you guys won.
That is insane value. If you're just a betting perspective, because you're right. I don't know the last Bama was 8.5. But there's a point that goes, why are they 8.5? So why are they 8.5?
I think it's a 9-game conference schedule was one. I think it brings it down. A couple of cappers on to kind of analyze it.
Mhm.
I think everybody has downs. This would probably be a 9.5. But 1 game,
Yeah.
you may split the difference, say that's a half, maybe not a full. But that 9-game conference schedule, the Texas A&M game's a little tricky because it's 8 straight in a row.
So what are those? So Georgia, AM, LSU. Who would be at Tennessee? That's what people are thinking maybe for. Interesting. Okay.
How about LSU? Yeah, I mean, I know I'll interview later on, but
Depends on Sam Levitt. Yeah. Depends if Sam Levitt is healthy and ready to roll. I think it could be similar. I think it'd be a 10-2 team that makes the playoff. If not, I think you're probably staring down a 9-8-4 season. Really disappointing. He's got to be ready to roll, man. I think defense will be fine. If Levitt isn't, then they got to rely on the 2 quarterbacks. That's problematic.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, Lane Kiffin's the best play caller I've ever seen in Tuscaloosa. I mean, no, it's not like I'm breaking any news here, but did more with less so many different times. I mean, a backup scout team, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and made him an SEC passing record.
They're 1,000 yards. It's insane.
Yeah. He took Amari Cooper and said, "Hey, you can do this. Oh, yeah, you can do this. Oh, perfect. We'll do these bubble screens all day. Oh, you want to go this way, this way, this way. And then we'll do a couple of sweeps, keep the defensive honest." We had a bit of a rushing attack, but it took Blake Sims and made him an SEC record holder with Amari Cooper.
Ryan was kind enough to bring the toilet. So I'm going to go use this. And
I can't believe he's so down on my top, man. I just –
are you kidding me? I'm ecstatic. The day that Nick Saban retired and I did my hoopla and all the Bama's burning, everything I've said has come to fruition.
But Kalen DeBoer has –
Everything I've said has come to fruition.
See,
everything.
Kalen DeBoer really embarrassed me. Because
That's hard to do because, as Hunt said earlier, he has the personality of a dial tone.
Okay.
Which is about right.
Hold on. Whoa.
So if he embarrassed you, that's tough.
No, I had the prediction that Brian Kelly would win a national title in Baton Rouge. That was my prediction when he first got hired. I said he'll win one in 5 years.
You know, 4. Maybe it would have been your Ryan.
Caleb Moore.
What does that have to do with anything?
He's 2 against LSU.
So what does that have to do with anything?
I mean,
he
got Brian Kelly fired before he could win the national title. My prediction did not come true.
Texas A&M, bro.
Did you think Brian Kelly would win a national title? Yes.
It's
the Alabama audience hated when I said
context matters so much because when Kelly was hired in 2021, NIL wasn't what it became, and so the college football world changed so much from the time he got hired to when he fired.
You gonna take it home?
And it's I told you my toilet. Let me go use it in the back. Whenever I've described it as LSU bought a fleet of horses the day the Model T was invented, and we'll see if Lane can get it done. Looking for another 4-loss season there in T-Town, Brian Denny Stadium. You can live them on.
Do we want to bet on the 4-loss thing?
On the what?
I mean, let's do something fun.
On what?
The 4-loss.
A 4-loss.
I will wear an
I didn't say
LSU
regular season, but they'll lose 4 games just like last year. They were 10-2, but lost to Georgia and then lost in.
So you're not saying end of the season. You're just saying at the end.
Oh no, I think you're right on over 8.5. I think they'll lose. They'll go 2-2 in the stretch mention.
But if they don't win
if
they don't win a national title, that loss will turn into 4. So maybe that's where I think you're going.
Another 4 losses.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
So we on?
I like the 4 on the regular season.
I'm going to go use the.
All right,
this beautiful
roll
crimson
tide
toilet.
to and take care of Bryant Denny West. I hope you guys are putting a new paint job on it in the field. Make it look good, man. Bryant Denny West on Baton Rouge.
Ryan Fowler. Ryan Fowler. Always interesting. The giant bearded wonder. Homerism at its absolute worst. But I love the guy. All right, it's After Further Review. We'll knock out a quick break and continue here, Hour 3 from Radio Row at SEC Football Media Days.
After Further Review.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Don Moore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery. Yes, flowers, plants, trees, shrubs, seeds. You want to plant that vegetable garden, they can do it for you, help you do it over at Clegg's Nursery. So get on by and check them out. But they have everything to keep the pests away as well. The Aeon mosquito barrier that I tell you about all the time. You need to keep that anthill killer or wasp spray or snake away or any of that sort of stuff to keep the pests out, the unwanted guests out, or things like bird feeders and hummingbird feeders to help bring the wanted guests into your beautiful outdoor space. It's Clegg's Nursery. So get on by any of the 4 locations. Been supporting Baton Rouge for 60 years. Bypass the big box store and go see our friends at Clegg's Nursery. So buy local, shop local, and tell them Matt sent you in when you go see our friends at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parish Construction and Roofing.
I want to move a little quickly here. We've got a couple of segments to do and not a lot of time to get everything done. Earlier this week when Greg Sankey spoke, of course, he did talk about the tampering allegations, and that's something Pete Golding was asked about. Of course, we know Dabo Sweeney went to a press conference and he had the receipts. I mean, he read the text messages from Pete Golding about the Cal linebacker who transferred to Clemson and then Ole Miss poached him. He had the receipts and read them all and was embarrassed. It was publicly embarrassing. And Pete Golding was asked about the tampering allegations.
We got a compliance department. They get paid to do their job. They do a really good job. So it's our responsibility to recruit really good players, right? Coach them extremely hard, get them ready to win football games. So we're going to continue to recruit really good players. That's both in the high school market and in the portal market. And we'll continue to do it how we've done it.
Saying absolutely nothing. And I don't know that I blame him because my guess is that there either is or will be a full-fledged investigation into those tampering allegations. So it doesn't serve him necessarily to say anything there, to incriminate himself. But it was, if you missed our conversation last hour, by the way, everything AFR On Demand presented by Brett Goff. Our production team is doing an awesome job of getting all of our show's contents on all the social media platforms. We did have Ross Dellinger here last hour. And, of course, Ross is like the foremost voice on covering the Protect College Sports Act and all that could do to help put up the guardrails that people are hoping with congressional intervention. And, the one-time transfer rule is part of the Protect College Sports Act, which it sounds like if the SEC and the Big Ten make their headway, get their provisions altered, and this thing does get passed, then the one-time transfer rule goes back into play. So things like tampering will be less relevant because you'd only have the opportunity to transfer once. Not to say it would completely go away, but it is something certainly that worth keeping an eye on. Now, Pete Golding was also asked, as you might imagine, about the LSU game coming up on September the 19th. That's something I've been asked about in quite literally every interview that I've done here this week, and will certainly be asked a ton tomorrow because it being LSU Day. So, it's sort of when LSU will take center stage. But this was what Golding said about the LSU game on September 19th.
The thing about this league, as y'all know, your focus better be on LSU. It better be on LSU week 3, right? And if your focus isn't on a Kentucky at home and you lose the game and go to the playoffs, your focus isn't on a Florida on the road, right? When you're number 5 in the country and you lose to the playoffs, you got to put your focus week in and week out in this league, which is what I love about this league. And then for us, the way our schedule's set up, we got Louisville, who's a top 25 team in a neutral site to open this thing up. If we're worried about anybody outside of Louisville, you better hold on. And so I think that's what I love about this league. It allows us as coaches and players, I know there's a lot of noise out there, to put our focus back on what's matter, and it's the next opponent. But LSU will get our undivided attention in week 3, and they'll deserve every bit of it.
By the way, the games he referenced about, Florida as the number 5 team of the country, and he referenced, Kentucky, those are the games in 2024 that they lost. Of course, they lost in Baton Rouge as well, but that was a 9-3 Ole Miss team, arguably the most talented Ole Miss team ever, that would have been a playoff team, but for a home loss against a Kentucky team that went 1-8 in the conference. Their only win was in Oxford against Ole Miss, and that Florida team on the road in November where they were a favorite. And look, you remember how the game played out. It's one of my criticisms of Lane Kiffin. It has been and continues to be one of my criticisms of Lane Kiffin. They had 3 possessions in the red zone where they came away with no points because 3 times they went forward on 4th down, handing the ball to the big defensive lineman Pegues, and they got stuffed all 3 times. Kick a field goal on any of those possessions, and Ole Miss wins the game. They're 10-2, and they go to the college football playoff. So that's what he's referencing there. But Trinidad Chambliss was also asked about how they follow up last year, where they made the playoff, made it all the way to the national semifinal. So now what do you do for an encore?
The standard at Ole Miss is winning a national championship, but, we can't get too ahead of ourselves. Last year is last year. That's done with. Nobody cares about what we did and what we accomplished last year. It's a new year. So now we're just, looking forward to fall camp and attacking that, as hard as we can. And then, week 1 in Louisville.
The standard at Ole Miss most definitely is not national championship. They've not won a championship in 6 decades. They've won a conference championship in 6 decades. They're one of 3 schools that has never been to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. So, no, the standard there is not national champion. The expectation, the goal this year could certainly be that with Trinidad Chambliss, Kewan Lacey returning. That certainly could be your goal this year, but impossible to say standard. But then again, if it's just a semantics argument. So today, hearing the Ole Miss players effectively deflect every question about Lane Kiffin and downplay everything about September 19th and that whole thing, not even naming Kiffin by name, saying our former coach. That'll be really interesting to see how Lane approaches it when he's here on Thursday, which is something we'll touch on as we wrap up when we come back. I want to remind you about Evamore, EVAMOR. I am excited to get back home and drink some Evamore. Very grateful to the SEC and their partners for providing beverages for us here this week, including bottled water. But it ain't Evamore. Natural spring water, natural artesian water from the spring wells on the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain, a great Louisiana product I'll tell you about every single day. EVAMOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. You can find Evamore at great retailers, or you can buy it online at Evamore.com. 20, 32, and 64-ounce bottles. It's Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Okay, y'all, it is After Further Review. Made big shout out and thanks to our friends at Rev Fiber, Relief Windows, FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, and Parish Construction and Roofing, our 4 great partners that are making our coverage here from Radio Row possible all week long. 1 segment to go until we bid you adieu, until the final day here where LSU will take the stage, and we're looking forward to that. We'll put a button on it to preview Day 4 next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Our Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, and I tell you, it's all about feeling your best. It's about feeling your best. It doesn't matter what your age is or what issue you may have. It's about feeling like your youthful self. And the bottom line is, so often, I can tell you this from experience, you don't know how bad you feel until you start feeling good again. You become so accustomed to feeling the way you feel that feels normal, and that's what you accept. That's just how life is going to be until you feel good again. Maybe it's hormone replacement therapy. Maybe it's one of dozens of different peptides that can help improve your vitality, your waking energy, your mental clarity, can reduce stress and anxiety, help you sleep through the night, help you build muscle, burn fat. There is a way to live your optimal life. I'm living proof of it. and they can help you with the lowest prices and never any contracts. So log on to yourgoodwood.com. That's yourgoodwood.com. Every major industrial project begins with one decision. Who will you trust to build it? The right contractor doesn't just provide manpower. They provide leadership and planning and safety and quality and execution. That's why industrial owners continue to place their confidence in River Parish Contractors. With more than 500 employees, a fully integrated construction organization, and a self-perform capabilities, they can fabricate, build, and execute complex industrial projects. River Parish Contractors is prepared for the work that matters most. When performance matters, when schedules are critical, when success is measured by execution, choose the contractor that's built for the challenge. That's River Parish Contractors. rpcontractors.com. rpcontractors.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Live from the 2026 SEC Football Media Days in Tampa. Presented by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, and Parish Construction and Roofing.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on this Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Putting a button here on this this Wednesday edition and looking ahead to Thursday, where it'll be LSU and Arkansas in the morning, and then Mississippi State and Texas to wrap up the day. Interestingly enough, so Lane Kiffin will take the podium 9:05 Eastern. So back home in Baton Rouge, 8:05 is when Lane Kiffin will take the podium in the main room. That'll be televised live on the SEC Network. So if you want to hear Lane Kiffin's comments, 8:05. I'm certain that Hester and Flynn off the bench will carry Lane Kiffin live at 8:05. So you want to hear him, you'll hear it right here on our air. It's Lane Kiffin, of course, with Trades Green, Whit Weeks, TJ Daugherty, and I think all of those bring an interesting dynamic. Trades, Lane Kiffin has never, Brooks Austin, the film guy, sat with us yesterday and said Lane Kiffin has never, anywhere, ever had an offensive weapon like Trades Green. Not just the size, but the combination of the size, the skill set, the hands, the agility, all of it. Never. That dude has massive potential this year in the audience. Not only be the LSU offensive breakout player, but potentially for the SEC and maybe all of college football. Like, that is not hyperbole. That could be the case. He is LSU's most dynamic weapon, full stop. So Trades will be here tomorrow. Whit Weeks, who was here a year ago, and yes, of course, he's going to be asked by people who don't cover this program every day about dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. I think that's a story we've all been told plenty. But for Whit, I think so much of this, and Whit's a great energy guy, but Whit, so much of this is why he made the decision to come back, his relationship with Blake Baker, and then also standing side by side with TJ Daugherty, who will also be here at SEC Football Media Days, who's a transfer. So I think LSU will have arguably the best linebacker core in the conference and one of the best in the country when you talk about Weeks and Daugherty and Devon Keys. Boom, 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 right there. Daugherty led the SEC in tackles last year. Weeks was second 2 years ago. Devon Keys was second to Daugherty last year. Now they're all going to share a room together, and that doesn't even count the depth that LSU has. So that linebacker unit, I think, will be really interesting. And then, we'll see how much Daugherty wades into the water to talk about his exit from Clemson. And it's something that Lane Kiffin has now said and been pretty upfront. He was a victim in that situation, which is not how it was painted nationally. When he left Clemson, is the way the story was told. And I did a podcast with Neil McCready, who covered Ole Miss for a lot of years, and we were doing, and we talked a little bit about it. And we both spoke in vague generalities because I think we both know the story, but haven't been able to get it on the record. So I'll be curious to see if that happens on Thursday with TJ Daugherty. Arkansas will be here. Ryan Silverfield will make his debut. Boy, they were a 2-win team a year ago, and I was talking to my buddy John Neighbors from inside Arkansas. I said, look, they're going to the Bahamas for a basketball showcase event coming up here in a couple of weeks, and he said there's more excitement there about the basketball showcase event than the football season. So year one under Ryan Silverfield, we'll see. And then Jeff Lebby in Mississippi State and Steve Sarkisian in Texas will wrap up the afternoon. Lebby is an interesting one because he took the job that seemingly fit him perfectly, going from Oklahoma to Mississippi State to run that offense in Starkville. And Kamario Taylor is going to be here, the starting quarterback entering his second year. And he's a guy who maybe has big-time boom potential within this offense, so that'll be an interesting one. Then, of course, they'll wrap the day. SEC did a very smart thing wrapping with Texas to see how many people will stick around to the very end with Sark, Texas, Arch Manning, Colin Simmons. They'll all be here with national championship expectations. 9-3 a year ago. Arch made the decision to return. Can they make a push toward the college football playoff this year and maybe the first national championship at Texas in more than 20 years? Of course, Vince Young in 2005 being the last. So it'll be a pretty celebrated way to bookend the final day, with LSU starting it with Lane Kiffin and then Steve Sarkisian in Texas and Arch Manning finishing the festivities here in Tampa from SEC Football Media Days. I want to remind you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020, call 924-2020. Go check out social media. My buddy Dr. Blake Williamson's down in Australia right now, one of 8 American ophthalmologists invited to speak at a conference in Australia because the surgery he's speaking on, he was the first ophthalmologist in the world to perform that surgery. Dr. Blake Williamson was in Baton Rouge. I'm telling you, you want the best. You want the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. Okay, that's going to do it for us here on this Hump Day edition of AFR. Once again, many, many thanks to Relief Windows, Rev Fiber, Parish Construction and Roofing, and FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, for bringing our coverage all week long here from Radio Row. Muse Pauly back in studio. Thank you so much. Rivers Huey on site doing an awesome job for all of our shows all week long. OTB will get it started bright and early tomorrow with LSU taking their turn on Radio Row at SEC Football Media Days, and we'll see you then.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, remind you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Industrial Generac Generator Power. You know what Generac generators are. These are industrial Generac generator generators. So if you have a business, a commercial facility, an industrial facility, and you don't have a plan for when the power goes out, the plan, the time to make that plan is not when the storm's in the Gulf. And we saw, obviously, a tropical event along the Gulf Coast this week. That's a good reminder that it happens quickly, and when a storm pops up in the Gulf, it's too late. This is the time to call Arco Power Systems to get that plan in place. Everything is turnkey. They can sell, service, install your industrial Generac generator. If you want to see what your options are, they can even have it there in their yard and dispatch it when power goes out. It's Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com.